In the Lab, a Texans podcast that takes a different look at things. Drew Dougherty and John Harris have their lab coats and goggles on, and the Bunsen burners burning. Here's Drew.
Welcome one, welcome all to another In the Lab. Drew Dougherty and that guy waving, my good pal, John Harris. John, I'm a little off today. I'm in a new setting. Last week I was outside because the family was going bananas. Now it's just me and my 4-year-old, and he's watching Power Rangers in the other room. But because he's in there and I don't have internet in the way back of my house, I've had to go into the playroom. So I'm in a new setup, and I open up these things. There's toys in here if we get bored. So yeah, how are you doing, buddy?
I love it, man. I give you the tour around my office, but I think you've seen it. There's Brown University 1993 football picture, some books, but yeah, it's pretty much the same. That you've probably hit on something, Drew. The changing of the Zoom location just to kind of spice things up, and all those virtual backgrounds are all fantastic, I suppose, but they get a little stale and boring after a little while. So yeah,
it's the damnedest thing, man. Like the first month and a half of this pandemic, I operated out of my master bedroom and everything was fine. Like no problems whatsoever. Yep. I'm not joking. Draft weekend comes, and that Thursday, Friday of the draft, my internet just, stopped working or was unreliable. So I've been having to do everything kind of on the other part of my house now. And it's tough because like you got to keep the kids entertained or nothing's going to happen, So
exactly.
Just sort of making
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the age of the kids either.
No.
I mean, my 20-year-old might come rolling down here after a little while and go, "What's up, Dad? What are you making me for breakfast?" Like it might happen. I mean, it might. Now I will say they over the years have been pretty well trained that if they know I'm on the air, I just have to give them a look in some way. They're like, "Oh," and then they take off. So they're pretty good about that. But your crew, my worry is my two knucklehead dogs, because my office is the closest one to the front door. And so if somebody comes to the front door, if there's lawnmower out back, if the pool guy shows up, I mean, any and all of that will just precipitate about a dozen loud barks.
I'm just telling you, telling you right now, it's going to happen because I'm in the office. It's by the front door as well. And I've got 2 wiener dogs, and if a gnat rustles in the, whispers across the street, they're going bananas. So it's going to happen. Yeah. We'll just roll with it.
That's the way it goes.
A lot going on, a lot of kind of interesting little tidbits going on in Texans land right now. Tomorrow, we're going to hear from defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver. It's the first time he's spoken or will speak since he's been named defensive coordinator. We've talked with him a bunch, both on camera and off camera over the last few years. Great guy. I know you're excited about what he's going to do. I'm excited about what he's going to do. Very sharp, very smart, very clear communicator. But it's going to be fun to hear what he has to say tomorrow because he's got some new pieces to work with. He's got some new faces, and I can't wait to see what happens when this Texans defense actually takes the field in the autumn.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's with Anthony Weaver taking over. And look, I've had this conversation on Sports Radio 610 probably 4 or 5 times. What do you expect? I mean, I think the thing with Weave to keep in mind is that he's got some of the Ryan brothers in his background, Rob and Rex. I think he coached with Rex and played for Rex when Rex was with the Ravens. And then he has spent the last 4 or 5 years with Romeo Crennel. So
who's still around, thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly. So I would imagine that Weave is going to take probably the best from all of those guys. And I think what I like about his experience is the fact that we know Rex. Rex is the kind of guy that almost kind of like Bruce Arians on the defensive side, no risk it, no biscuit. Rex will show you 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, and all 7 are coming. Whereas Romeo might show you 7, and only 3 of them are coming. But then there's a 4th going to come from depth that you had no idea. And so there was, some more simulated pressures with Romeo, and there was more some just outright, we're bringing everybody sort of thing with Rex. And so I think with Weave being able to maybe find a happy median with both is going to be kind of interesting to see what he does. And And the other aspect of it is, and I think people get caught up in this too much, but 3-4 versus 4-3, I think those days are sort of out the window.
Yeah.
To be honest. Yeah, I don't think
you're going to see both. You're going to see both, but really more than anything, you're going to see nickel. I mean, you'll see
exactly.
You'll see aspects of both, but most of the time you're going to be in nickel anyways.
Right, and with Romeo Crennel and even with Rex, with Rex you'd get some of the Bear 46 looks that his dad created back when he was the defensive coordinator of the Bears. I think you'll see a little bit of everything. You'll see a base 4-3, you'll see a base 3-4. The thing is, with the players the Texans have, you have the opportunity to be able to do some of those things, to play different fronts, to have the same 11 guys out on the field and show different things and play different things. But you're right, the majority of time, I know college football isn't the NFL, but a lot of the college elements are moving up to the NFL, and nobody plays a straight-up 4-3. Nobody plays a straight-up 3-4. That's just not happening in college football. There are 5 defensive backs on the field, or there are 4 defensive backs and maybe a 5th guy that looks like a linebacker or plays like a linebacker but is really a safety. There are some that just put 5 cornerbacks out on the field because they know they got to match up with speed, and they've got to match up all over the field. So you're seeing a lot of that sort of filter up, if you will. And if you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, is there really any need to have 7 front 7 guys out on the field? Probably not, because how are you going to match up with Travis and Tyreek and Nico Hardman, Sammy Watkins? How are you going to match up with all those guys? Yeah. Well, you're not going to do it with just 4 defensive backs on the field. So from that perspective, yeah, you're going to be playing a lot of nickel. Well, what if you play the Titans? Well, the nice thing about this defense and the nice thing about having Anthony Weaver put it together is the fact that they're built in some sense to take on different type of offensive schemes. Now, the key, obviously, guys have to stay healthy. And the one kingpin that has to stay healthy, who is vital in all of this, is J.J. Watt, because Watt can play so many different spots up and down the line of scrimmage for whatever you're going to face. And then when you don't have him, it's almost like you're not just losing one player. You're almost losing 2, maybe 2.5 players, because all the different things that he does, all the different spots that he can play on your defensive line. So I'm curious to see what Weave has to say, and he'll flash that big smile on Zoom, and it's going to be good to see him. But I'm really excited. I'm happy for him. I think this has been something that is funny. We talked about this a long time ago when Sean Pendergast and I would do radio with him, and we talked about what his ambitions were after football, and whether it would be coaching, and if it were you want to be a head coach. And he strikes me as a guy that one day could be a really, really good head coach. He's going to get his opportunity as defensive coordinator in 2020. No doubt.
I got a good chance on late Friday afternoon, to talk with Jordan Aikens, tight end for the Houston Texans. Yeah. He's doing well. He had just flown back from Orlando earlier that afternoon. He said he was on a Southwest flight with 5 other people. And he's been working out, and he's been going through the virtual offseason program, and that's what I want to kind of finish with here. But it's very interesting. He said it's been going well. Communication has been good. And he made the point to say that Deshaun Watson has been getting on the same page with all these new receivers, as well as with the tight ends, and so on and so on. And it made me think, hey, Jordan, you've been a part in each of the last 2 seasons of 2 of these just most improvisational, unbelievable plays. The touchdown at San Diego when Watson was rolling right or scrambling right and flicked it to – or scrambling left and flicked it to the right to Aikens, and he had all that green grass and scored. And then the year before in Philly with the Houdini escape from 4 or 5 guys to get the first down. But I made the point, hey, yes, a lot of that is Deshaun Watson and his improvisational skills, but a lot of that's you guys being on the same page in April, in May, in June, July, and August too, right? And he was emphatic about that and how excellent Watson has been in that regard, as well as his teammates. It's a locker room right now full of smart guys who prepare, who grind, who get after it. And it was pretty fun to hear that reaffirmed, because Aikens, like Darren Fells, he's a kind of worldly voice. He's been out in the world. He's been a professional athlete in another sport for 4 years. Same thing with Fells. Fells played basketball, Aikens played baseball. But they've been around and they've seen some things, and they know how a pro needs to operate. And it was just fascinating hearing him just matter-of-factly give that praise to Deshaun Watson. It's something that sort of reaffirms how great and how lucky we are to have 4 under center.
You're dead on, Drew. One of the things I remember thinking about Jordan Aikens, just when his name was called on draft night, just all the thoughts flooding into my mind. And one of the first ones was former professional baseball player, a little bit older, a little bit more mature. And those are the things that in a young player, which he still is, when you have a guy that has played professional sports, that has dealt with the ups and the downs of baseball in particular. I mean, you think about hitting a baseball and how difficult that has to be.
The best ones fail 7 times out of 10.
Absolutely. And to have to deal with that and learn how to deal with that success and, like you said, lack thereof, because 70% of the time you're not successful, and that's if you're one of the great ones. Yeah. So I felt like that, being in a clubhouse, being around people of different, nationalities, and, how you have to communicate. Now, obviously, baseball is much more an individual sport than football is, but I just always felt like that was going to be a great thing for him to have, and that the Texans could leverage that. And I think this is one of those situations now where you look at it and go, man, thankfully you have 2 guys in that room that have been professionals in other sports, that know how to take care of their bodies, to take care of their minds, and make sure that everybody else is staying on track. Because you're talking about Jordan Thomas, still young. I mean, he's going into his 3rd year, but still a young dude. Kylie Waring.
And Aikens, by the way, sorry to interrupt. Aikens is very excited to see what Thomas does this year. He's very optimistic about what Thomas is up to for 2020 and beyond. So that could be something to keep an eye on. Yeah,
there's no question. What I've kind of struggled the last probably couple weeks, especially with the schedule release coming out, and just some of it's not really slander, but I've seen a lot of people nationally talk about different offenses in the league. And look, I understand the proof is in the pudding, but when I look at this offense, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll give you the fact that DeAndre Hopkins is not here anymore. Understood. But you brought in David Johnson, Randall Cobb, and Brandon Cooks, when healthy, have been very productive in those places. We still haven't seen what Kylie Waring did, and it can do. And that's a guy that – and I go back to Travis Kelce. What did Travis Kelce do in his rookie year with the Chiefs? Boom, 0. Not a darn thing, because he missed the entire season with an injury. He was in one game, he's hurt, that was it. The rest of the year, gone. So to sit there and go, well, Waring's this or Waring's that. First of all,
we don't know.
We can only go with what we have no idea. But if you're also going to count him out, did you count Kelce out too? And because I know there were probably some that did, and he's turning into one of the best tight ends in the game. Now, I know we'd want something to happen sooner rather than later, but if he starts to develop, this is the year that that's going to happen. So I just feel like there are a lot more options readily available in this offense than national people understand or know. And a lot of that goes back to having number 4 under center, because he can find them. But a guy like Jordan Aikens, having that understanding of playing with Deshaun, like, okay, I know, okay, Deshaun can get out of this. Whereas the one thing I always see, and it's funny with that play against Philadelphia and then the play against the Chargers, the one thing that defenses do against Deshaun is, and I think Buffalo did this to a degree too, is you see a guy coming in for a sack and they relax, like, okay, play's over. And it's just for a split second. But our guys don't do that. Our guys know he might get out of this, start to go find an opportunity to get open. And that's what Aikens did against the Chargers. When he's getting hit from the one side, Aikens starts to see him get out of it, and the other Chargers are just kind of sitting there kind of staring like, all right, are we going to get the sack or not? And then when he bursts out of there, Aikens is already moving to the other side of the field, because that's just an open area. Just trusting that Deshaun's going to be able to see him. He does. It's a touchdown. Those are things that some of it you can work on. The Texans do work on that. I remember seeing them at the Greenbrier working at drill in 2017, 2018 with Deshaun in particular. Then they did it with A.J. McCarron last year during training camp. Scramble drill. They will end up going left, right, wherever, and then you're having to work their routes back to the quarterback, around the quarterback, where the quarterback's going. They've worked on that as well, but I think having that synergy, that because you can't work on it now, having done it before, I think is going to be huge for these guys going forward. And we'll see what Jordan Aikens is able to do. But I think he's going to be a big piece in this offense for sure.
I don't know if you heard, but there was a neighbor walking out of his car across the street. So my dogs had to let him know what's up.
That's all right. Hey, give him the what for. It's all right.
You know, I've been doing these Drew's Dozens with a lot of ambassadors, a lot of players, and I'm going to end with this. I've been asking a lot of them, what you've been binge watching during this time. Some folks like Cecil Shorts, he has 7 kids, hasn't had a chance to binge watch too much, but have you gotten on any shows?
You know, it's funny. I actually have not done the binge watching thing. I stuck to my normal shows and have stayed caught up with those. Better Call Saul being probably first and foremost of that. But I'll tell you something, Drew, that I've done, and I don't know how this has really happened, but it sort of just happened. But I said to my daughter one day when I saw her on her phone, I said, what are you watching? What are you doing? She goes, oh, I'm just on YouTube. And I was like, well, you just watch, just random videos on YouTube? She's like, no, not random, but like, how YouTube is, it creates a list based on your preferences of things you like. And, and so she just kind of rolls through there and picks and watches 5-7 minutes. That's what I do. I very rarely will go, I have YouTube TV and I have Sling TV. And so those are my service providers, basically, for all my live and local, all that kind of stuff. I very rarely will put those on. I will go to YouTube and I look up college football game, up NFL highlights. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I've gone. And so where I was going with this is not really binge watching, but 2 of my favorites, I guess, if you want to say that. There's a guy called Sam the Cooking Guy on YouTube, and he makes like food I would eat, like food everybody eats. It's not, stuff you would get at a, kind of a fancy frou-frou restaurant. He makes like cheesesteaks. He made Wagyu beef chicken fried steak the other day with bacon, sausage, cream gravy. And so I watch these cooking videos. And the other one is Dude Perfect. There's something about Dude Perfect with all those trick shots, and I think they're funny. They went to A&M, so I think that's kind of cool too. But they're just a really neat group, and they do different kinds of videos. And so I just kind of been rolling through, and they're 7-8 minute videos, and you just sit and watch, and they do all kinds of battles and trick shots, and it's just really neat. So those have been the 2, not really binge watching a show, but just kind of watching those. I think it probably goes a little bit quicker, kind of watching a few of those videos and having to sit down and kind of really pay attention to a series of a show. But Better Call Saul season 5 was very, very good. And of course I'm watching The Last Dance. That's been phenomenal. The Michael Jordan Bulls documentary.
I'm going to wait till July and when it comes on Netflix and just watch it then. So speaking of Dude Perfect,
it's good.
I amazed my kids because we were playing basketball in the driveway the other day, and one of the balls went across the street. So I was in my neighbor's driveway across the street. Swish. It was awesome. They went bananas. I just finished last night the second season. There's 2 seasons total of Succession on HBO.
Oh, yeah. I heard that's good.
That's a good show, man.
I hear that's good.
Good show. So yeah. All right, that's going to do it for this In the Lab. We had dogs barking. I was in front of my children's play area, their toys. What's in here? See what's going on here? Oh, yeah, some more fun stuff.
There's Panda in there.
We'll talk with you again next time. It should be a lot of fun. John, have a good one, buddy.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.